impression of what kind of conversations we are having inside the Hille House Publishing collaborative books, but also our author networking circle. And the question or the topic has been thought leadership. How can a book help us to step more deeply into thought leadership? Are we writing a book in order to become a thought leader? What is it that makes a book writing non-negotiable? Like when do we know it's time to start writing the book? And of course, then there's the question, when do we know that to stop writing a book? And that I will answer in another video. But today it's about, when do we know, when is the book calling you to write itself? Because in the author networking circle today, we had a beautiful woman. She said she's known for decades that she needs to write this book, but it hasn't happened yet. And it sounded like there wasn't enough drive for her to do it because, there wasn't enough reason. And so I asked the group, what were some of the reasons when you knew you just had to write the book? And there were a couple of themes coming up. One theme was that the book was writing itself in the author's head already, and she just needed to take the time to download the thoughts or empty her mind onto the page so that everything, all this amazing stuff that was kind of swirling in her head and wouldn't let her leave her alone, would find its place in the book. So that's one reason, when we know that there's so much juiciness, so much that we're going through, that we want to capture it. And this needing to capture it or before we forget was another reason to start writing. Because as you probably know, we go through these intense periods, we have amazing transformational thoughts, mic dropping realizations, and unless we write them down, we will not remember them in a month, 2 months, 3 months time from now. So the invitation is, especially with transformational books you're writing, if you're a coach or a healer, documenting your journey, documenting those transformations, documenting the challenges that you are facing at this time, to capture them, because your internal dialogue that's going on for you will be something that down the track a reader might be facing, or an ideal client. And if you haven't captured it in the moment it happened, or in retrospect, it means that you cannot relive it to the degree, with the detail that you had when you were right in it. So that is another really good time to answer the call to write your book, because book writing is also a hero's journey in itself. So we're in our ordinary world, and suddenly this thought pops in, oh, I need to write this book. Either somebody mentioned it to you, you need to write this book, or have you thought of writing a book, or the thought just won't leave you alone. So the book is calling you. And then there's a phase after we've had the call that we refuse the call. So there's life that gets in the way, as it was with this lady who had known for a decade that she was going to write a book. And sometimes it's not a conscious refusal, but it's an unconscious refusal due to inaction, due to not giving it the space that it needs, or making it a priority, or even understanding why it needs to be a priority. And that's the invitation here. If you've been thinking about writing a book for a while, or newly, why now? What is the thing that's calling you? Oh, for another client, or not client, for another participant in the author networking circle, it was about his father getting dementia. And he really wanted to capture his life. And so he started this in honor of his father, to write his own book, to capture the memories of that life, and now really helping others to share their journeys and their books. So circumstantial, somebody dies, reminding you that you are mortal as well, that you could die any moment. And what are you leaving behind if you're not capturing it right now? There was a lady I was working with in one of our multi-author books, and out of the blue, she had a heart attack and passed away. And the timing was phenomenal. Like, I mean, there's never a right time for passing away unless, except that our soul understands why. But we had just completed the developmental editing of her chapter. Everything was captured. And so in this book, she was able to leave her legacy, her joy for her passions of music and literature. But had she not answered the call at the time she did, that opportunity to capture her life and celebrate her life wouldn't have been there. So it all ties back into thought leadership. And I think the invitation is to understand where on the journey are you at on that hero's journey. Have you heard the call to write a book? Are you in the process of writing it? Are you clear on your message and the message that is part of your legacy, that is part of your mission, that is part of your calling? And for me, that message is that, and I wrote myself into clarity actually during the author networking call. I took part in the writing prompt that I'd given, and that was about legacy and leadership, thought leadership. Is your book helping you currently to step into thought leadership? And I'm just getting off camera here because I want to find my book. Here, this is my book that I wrote in it came out in April. It's probably in Mirror Effect, The Aligned Author. It's based on that hero's journey of the writer. It's based on the hero's journey of the writer. It's a writer's odyssey towards mastery and momentum. And I realized that I wasn't using my book to further expand and embody my thought leadership. I had moved on to the next. And if you're creative, you will probably be able to relate to this. You do one project, you do it intensely, you put it out there, and you move on to the next. And so that's what I had been doing. And rather than really sitting with this and reaping the fruits of my labor and the work that I had put in and the concepts that I had developed as I was writing this book. I'd been on a couple of podcasts during the opening of the book or the launch of the book, and then I just moved on to other things, all the way wondering, what is my core message? What is the thing that I want to be known for? And so what I realized is that it's already all here. I don't need to chase it. I don't have to reinvent it. I don't have to invent it or reinvent it. It is already here. So what is it for you? What is that story that is already here within you that if you took the time to sit and reflect on and allow it to come through, what would you talk about? What would you write about? Have you already written about it and now it's lying on your, sitting on your bookshelf, gathering dust, not doing very much? What is your thought leadership and what is the next step that you can take to embody it more deeply and share it more powerfully? So that is my invitation to you, and feel free to use that as a writing prompt, to journal about that, to journal without stopping. So all the processing, instead of getting stuck in our heads, will be done on the page. You write without stopping, with no attachment to the outcome, allowing yourself to be surprised by where the writing might take you. So the writing prompt is, am I using my book that I've already written to really embody my thought leadership and to really contribute to the world that which I have become a master at, an expert at through writing this book? And that's the question for you if you're published. You know, you might have published 47 books as one of my colleagues has. And then the question is, well, which one? Or the question is, what is the common theme? What is the theme that they all have in common? that I am already a thought leader on? And am I proclaiming that? Am I claiming that? Am I owning that fully, deeply, profoundly? And if you haven't written your book, and maybe you're in the process of writing your book, or maybe you're still on the other side of the threshold where you haven't started and you're still refusing the call, think about this. What will writing a book, how will writing a book help me to discover and step into the embodiment of my thought leadership, of leaving my legacy? How will my book do that? And that will clarify your core message. And there's more questions around that you could explore that I won't go into in this video. But let me know in the comments if this has been something that you have felt, was alive for you. What made you start your book if you have written it? How are you embodying your thought leadership? Go and inquire about that this week. See what comes through, what realizations, and where can you expand? Where can you expand even further into that legacy that you have? All right, I'd love to hear your comments, and I'll see you next time. I'll share another writing prompt and another reflection. I've got all of our details below if you want to join us in the author networking circle. I'll link it down below. We also have a membership coming up where we explore questions like this in stream of consciousness writing to really gain clarity on how we can embody our expertise, our wisdom even more, and make a deep connection to the world with that. And that one is called the Transformational Writing Cauldron, and I'll link that below as well. So thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. Thank you for the work that you're doing in this world, and I'll see you soon. Bye.